You are listening to the web's number one choice in spiritual growth and development. This is Heart Over Ego Radio, a network of shows to provide you with healing and guidance to improve the quality of your life. Check us out on Sundays with the Everyday Psychic Show. Mondays is the Alchemy Sisters. Tuesdays, Radical Spirituality. Wednesdays is Know Thyself. Thursdays, Transcending Love. Fridays, Rain Radio. This is Heart Over Ego Radio. Check us out on the web at facebook.com and Blog Talk Radio.
Hello and welcome to Radical Spirituality. I am Crystal Jordan, also known as the Mid Mitten Medium, and we also have Mandee ELam here, who is an alchemy sister. So hi, Mandee, how are you?
Hey, Crystal. I am doing all right. How are you?
I am great. I am so great, actually. We were talking a little bit beforehand, and I think this was the first time in freaking 6 months that I felt pretty good. So I'm like, yes, I'm really excited. First off, I have to say I am so grateful to both you and Jenny and the whole Heart Over Ego for reaching out to me. Originally was to be a part of your guys' show, The Alchemy Sisters. But I'm so grateful to be a part of this. It's such a neat transition, and it's such a beautiful thing that is being done here, and I'm so grateful for it. So I just have to say that first off, because it is 2020, and we're starting out this year on a positive note, and I'm so grateful to work with such wonderful people who understand life and understand what we go through. And I just absolutely love the both of you, as well as all of the other people who are also a part of Heart Over Ego, because there are so many shows and so many beautiful people. So I would just like to give love to all of us going forward, and I hope that this is a wonderful year for every single thing that we have going on here, because I really think it is. So how have you been?
I agree. Overall, I'd say I've been pretty good, but I would say I am really feeling the effects of this moon coming up and the eclipse that's happening. Everything's just been wild in my life. Business has been good, and I've been having wonderful sessions and very connected to spirit, so that's been great. But the external stuff, weird power outages and weather and fights and people acting screwy and strange, and there's just been a lot of really crazy weirdness going on in my world this week that I've noticed.
So that's what you meant by what you said. I was wondering if it was you or because if the listeners don't know, we talk a little bit before we jump on with you guys, and she was talking about how the full moon and all that other stuff was going to affect her, and I was like, curious as to how. Yes, I've noticed that also, and I'm going to say that I feel I don't know anything about any of lunar anything. You know this. I know nothing. I just kind of roll with it, because I feel like if I try to know more, I'll resist it a little bit. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know much about what's taking place. I just kind of go with what it is. But I do feel like it's causing people to really maybe accelerate in growth, I guess is a good way to put it. And so I feel like I'm noticing that people are being placed in situations that are calling them out to learn in the moment. I know Ben has had several disturbances lately, and he is struggling greatly right now with his reactionary responses to people. He has this inner child in him that throws temper tantrums sometimes fierce. And we've been talking a lot about that lately, because I'm like, you've got to get a hold on that. You're in control of that. You're in control of how you talk to people and respond to people. And, if you want the universe to respond to you, you have to respond to others with love the way that you want to be responded to. And so you can't sit around all the time making excuses for why you do and say and excuse yourself for, I acted this way, but. Take but out of your relationship with spirit, period. Don't use that word anymore.
Oh my gosh. I had the same things kind of going on, only it's a little reversed for me. I feel my sacred anger a little bit, and my Kali Ma and my goddess, and like the things that are kind of burning things down. And I find myself speaking my truth and standing my ground. And I had a family member today. So these are like the weird, crazy things happening. So I run to the store to go pick my mom up a coffee, and I come back and I notice two of my dogs are at the front door, and we have two other dogs at this house. There's a whole thing here. We're taking care of my grandmother. And so I'm like, that's strange. It's like winter. Why is the front door open? Why are those two staring out the glass door? And I go in, and like my mom and my brother and two of the other dogs are not here anywhere. And I call their phones, and I both hear them ring, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the puppy, because we have a 1-year-old puppy. I was like, the puppy got out because she does that. I was like, okay, let me go see if I can find them. So another family member of mine pulled up because my mom asked him to come and pick some things up that are his. And some of those things are weights, like heavy weights, and one of them's like 35 pounds. And he's like, well, your mom just called me to come get these things. And I'm like, okay, well, we're having an emergency right now, so like hang on, I need to go help them, and I'm going to like pull out of the driveway. Please move your car, because he like blocked me in. And I'm like, okay, let me go help find the puppy. So I go and like I drive like a half a mile, and we find them, and they had gotten the puppy finally. And I was like, oh no, like, yeah, this is an issue. So I come back to the house, and he was coming down the stairs with this heavy weight. And right before I left, he was like, well, your mom called me to get these, and like I can't carry them by myself because of my back. I was like, well, we'll be right back to help you. Hang on. Like, we're having an emergency. And I come back, and he's coming down the stairs with them, and he's like upset because no one's helping him, but like we had something going on, and then left the door open so another dog got out. And it was this whole thing.
No.
And I spoke my truth. Usually I'm all calm, cool, collected, fine. And I was like, you know what? I'm like, that was really uncalled for, really selfish. I was like, and you're really impatient, and I'm not happy about it. Because he's like, what did I do to get on your shit list? So I like was honest. And there were some other things leading up to this with this that have happened in the past. But I was like, that is it. So when you talked about the part where you were like, some people who maybe act a little like you were calling it an inner child, and I'm calling it maybe like a baby, that kind of thing, are getting some truth told to them. And that's something I don't usually do, but I felt very divinely guided to do it as I tackled my dog in the front yard, one of the puppies. So
Yes. You all know that I speak about absolute truth on this show. I don't have a problem calling myself out or anybody else that I know, because there are things that I deal with every day. Just like you deal with different things every single day. And how do you teach your clients how to deal with certain things every day? You share what you've done, how you've experienced, how you've grown, how you maybe not have grown. And so I'm going to share this, and I'm going to just say that it'll probably come to bite me in the ass at some other point in time. But at the same time, it's like, okay, so
radical
right now,
spirituality. This is when you have the opportunity to grow in the moment of your real life happenings.
So I have absolutely zero tolerance for people who don't take accountability for themselves and their actions. I am growing in a way, and I feel like that's actually part of who I am and what I've been put here for. I just haven't found a way to wrangle that in a positive way to make it a good thing, because I myself still have those moments where I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now?
Yeah.
And so I myself throw little temper tantrums too. I'm not innocent in all of this. So Ben and his ex-wife, they have an 8-year-old with each other, and I am going to tell you, living with these two, because essentially it's her and him both. Like, I am so intolerable to both of them at this point. And I love Ben to pieces. I think everybody knows that, but I am so intolerable to both of them blaming each other instead of working with each other and letting go of whatever the hell happened in their relationship. Because they have to let go of it. I don't care. At this point, you two are no longer together, and your only job should be to raise up this beautiful child with love and let him know and understand at the end of the day that he can be around both of you without feeling animosity. And when he comes over and he says something like, I don't feel comfortable with you two being together because it makes me uncomfortable, that like hurts my soul for him, because a child should always feel safe. And so him and his ex right now are going through something with each other, and it's like, I just can't handle it. I told Ben, I said, I want to date you still, because I really love you, but I want my own house, because I'm not going to live with this type of animosity and struggle that you two are creating for the next 8 years. I just won't do it. I pick and choose the energy that I want in my life right now, and you two are acting like infants that aren't getting your way. And all I see are two right fighters with a power struggle that won't put their son ahead of themselves. And I have had it. Like I like you just said, you know, you call people out, and I told him last night because something happened between the two of them. I was like, you know, and it's hard as an empath, which brings us to kind of what we're going to be talking about today is the empath and how we pick up and understand and vibe with other people, whether we want to or not. It's not what we're asking for, I guess, consciously, but we did contract for it. But I don't have the ability to separate myself from feeling the vibes that are constantly like a black cloud hanging over this situation. And it's constant. And so I'm just like, I choose what I want in my life. This is a choice. And I don't want this negativity for 8 years to be a part of my focus. Because inevitably, if I'm with somebody who refuses to move forward, I'm going to be stuck in a path of not moving forward either. It literally falls downhill. It is a part of what you go through as well. Stuck equals stuck. And so I can live my life. I can make my own choices. But if we want to be together, something's either going to have to happen or I'm going to have to separate my energy. And so I feel like Jenny, I love her. You know how much I love Jenny.
Crystal, you're breaking up a tiny bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. My internet in my house is not happy.
That's much better, actually, already. So, yes, continue.
Okay. So we all know how much I love Jenny McDaniel. She is one of the Alchemy sisters. She is one of Mandee's teammates. They do everything together with their stuff, and they're the founders of this beautiful radio network. She calls things out in such a way, and I actually ask myself now, why are you triggered? Crystal, what is triggering you in this? Because I feel like it has to be something in me, but I came to the realization yesterday is that his ex is who I used to be. And so what triggers me is looking at a reflection that used to be mine that I have worked really hard at getting away from. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, what holds what the energy of negativity in me is the unaccountability that this person has to her actions. And I can look from above, and you can too, I'm sure, in situations like you talked about. You can look from above and see a situation as a whole and feel love for this person, even though you're angry or frustrated. You can understand where it comes from. But I have no tolerance anymore for the unaccountability of people and what they do and what they say. You know, take responsibility for your reactions and take responsibility for what you say and stop blaming everybody else, I guess.
Yes.
And it's her and him both. It's not just her. I'm not just pointing my fingers at her because then he knows. I call him out and I'm like, yo, really? Do you think that was the best way to handle that? Are you kidding me right now?
Right.
So, but we all have to look at it in a way where just because you're an empath, you don't have the right to sit there in somebody else's negativity or toxicity or unaccomplishment, I guess, and blame them for the situation in which you're in.
Yes.
And so it's really weird because I've worked so hard at trying to get to why these things trigger me that last night I feel like I had a breakthrough finally, for the love of hell.
Ooh.
In the sense that I'm looking at who I used to be. And I don't want to go back there. I'm not going to be that person again. I refuse to be that person again. And so being around it all the time is almost like pulling me back into that person that I used to be, and I refuse to be that person. And so it's one of those mindful tones that I had to take with myself last night. And I was like, freaking dear Watson, I got it. It was like a light bulb moment. And it only took 5 fucking years.
Hey, divine timing is divine timing. You know, Crystal, I think there's also a side to that too. Like, yes, it's important for us to see what's triggering us so that, A, we can see if there's a wound that needs to be healed or if there's, you know, something that needs attention. But then there is this part of being an empath where certain triggers, like I was talking about before, are sacred anger. So part of you being triggered is like you see yourself in that child as well in certain aspects of it and needs not getting met, or just for the child in general of what the child really wants and needs, what we promote here on Heart heart of the ego, the change we're wishing to see, and you're not seeing that happen right now. And so that is creating sacred rage within you. That's a lot of what's going on collectively right now. We've got some shit going on politically stirring up that has people a little scared and worried. We've got fires breaking out. There's, tension and violence in places. There's all kinds of things happening right now that are triggering empaths left and right. And some things should trigger you. Like, yeah, should it trigger you that, Australia's burning down? Sure does. What we can do is there are things, though, I do want to say that, we'll get to this, tools of how we can look at this collective stuff happening and the energy we can send and what we can do to protect ourselves.
Yes, which all has to be done. And I do have to say you were completely accurate on that. I have talked to Ben several times and told him I see the situation between those two as the same situation as I grew up in as a child. And it was a very toxic, horrible situation for me to be growing up in. And it only took two adults to get their shit together and to be better for each other. And it was also, it was the whole collaborative of all of the adults in my life. It wasn't just one over the other. It was all of the adults in my life. They could have done a lot better job of making me feel safe and secure. And that's exactly what it is that I'm seeing being relived in him. And it makes me feel bad for him because inevitably this poor kid is kind of being raised by people who aren't his parents because nobody's taking responsibility for him. And so when Ben's at work, he's here with me and he doesn't get to see Ben all weekend. And the same thing on his mom's side, she's got babysitters watching him and all this other stuff. And so it's just kind of one of those situations where you look at it and you're like hurting for this person that I can't help. He's not my person. I mean, I have no legal control over what happens to him. And so my hands are tied and that frustrates me too. And so,
well, what you do, I'm going to interrupt a little because this is for so many of our listeners too. What you do have control over is the only thing you have control over: yourself, your actions and your reactions when you're with another being. So what you can be is a spark of light, someone who inspires and loves and offers unconditional support, and do your best to lead by example, and be the change you wish to see in that whole situation. And that's all you can do. And then
he's
go from
cool
there.
Kid, man. I'm just going to say, he is a
you're
cool
clearly
kid.
Connected.
He is awesome. I absolutely love this tiny human. He is a wonderful person, and he asks the most adult questions regarding life and spirituality and all sorts of stuff. He is such an intelligent person, and it's just like, man, is he going to be a cool human once he gets older? He's already a cool human, but he's bound to this child energy, and it's kind of like, I feel like he knows more than most of us. I'll just put it that way.
And more of these, sensitive children are coming in. That's why we're trying to pave the path here on Heart Over the Ego. That's what this is all about. It's about, raising the heart and creating a better planet and a little more functional for everyone and everything, full of more love, so that all these new babies coming in can handle it because they're way more sensitive, number one. And number two, he's also an old little soul, and I'm sure the two of you will look into it later, but have some contracts and whatnot and some connections and soul family. And no matter how long you're supposed to be in his life at this lifetime, and this goes for everyone listening, you're meant to have an impact of some sort on one another. So simply be present and let it evolve into what it is. And that's all you can do because nothing is guaranteed. The only thing that is guaranteed in this lifetime is change. And even if it's the best relationship in our life, even if it's a child or a spouse or anyone, it's all temporary. We're all down here in this earth school living this dream.
We've talked about, not only have we talked about this, and I say we, clients, everybody right now is talking about exactly what you just said. I think I posted about that actually on my page today. That was my post, and what it was about is how we're in school, and this is nothing more than just a series of lessons and a test, and stop being so hard on yourself. Because it'll come back around. I mean, it will. It'll come back around in a different situation if you don't learn it the first time. So you'll have an opportunity to do it differently the next time. So love yourself through it and just realize, hey, okay, so that probably wasn't the best way to do that in that moment. And so I promise I'll try to do better next time. Thank you for, being with me. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for nurturing me and caring about me. And I think that a lot of us have forgotten that I don't care if you're 8, 5, 10, 12, 2, 80, we all need nurturing. And so many adults I'm even going to say probably past 10 years old almost, even children and teens, it's almost like they hit a certain age where the nurturing stops. We forget that those people still need to be loved, cuddled, emotionally, mentally, physically. All of that needs to be done. And so we're all these people walking around on this planet forgetting to nurture others, but we're also neglecting ourselves and forgetting to nurture ourselves through all these changes taking place. And that's just as important as the lesson.
Because as a society, we're taught that. We're taught, oh, you're an adult, no more love.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's tough love. Like, that's just how it goes. And then it's not acceptable. Like, I remember I was in Colorado, and one of my girlfriends at the time was talking to me. I was bartending, and she came in, and she was like, yeah, I'm just, like, a little weirded out by my boyfriend and his mom's relationship. But it's cool, and I'm trying to keep it really open. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? She's like, well, it's nothing, like, weird and inappropriate. They just, like, hug a lot and touch a lot and, like, you know, hang on the couch near each other and stuff. And, like, they grew up in, like, kind of, like, a different, like, maybe hippie lifestyle, something like that. She's like, and he told me, like, you know, touch and was really important for my mom, and she wanted us to, like, know we were loved and hug, and that's why I hug you and everyone else and everything. She's like, so I'm cool with it. It's just not something I'm used to. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool though, right? And she's like, it is. I was like, yeah, it probably made me uncomfortable. And I remember one time when I was in college, I went home my freshman year of college with one of my friends, and we went to her dad's office, and we were like, I don't know, we were like 19 or so, and she went and, like, sat on his lap, and he was, like, giving her a hug, and I almost wanted to throw up. It made me so uncomfortable because I've never experienced that in my life. But at the same time, hindsight 2020, thinking back on it, I'm like, I hope that, you know, if I have girls, that they have that type of relationship with their dad, and it can always stay, like, platonic and loving and all these things. So we have to, that's another thing, you know, when we go through trauma, just because something's triggering you doesn't mean we have to avoid it or stop it from happening. It just means we got to take a look at what it is. Mm-hmm. You know, if it's a sacred anger, if something of the collective, then yeah, like, it should make you trigger you if somebody, you know, throws a bag of puppies in a river. Like, that's pretty shitty. We're here to change those kinds of things.
I feel like if I saw somebody throw puppies in the river, you would have to have this conversation with me from behind bars.
Right.
And they probably wouldn't allow that, so it'd be no more. But at the same time, I'm going to have to Google that sacred anger or whatever it is that you keep calling it, because I've never heard of that, actually. And
Rebecca Campbell called that to my attention in her, like, Light is the New Black and Rise, Sister Rise, and talks about how, like, you know, all of our emotions and feelings are holy and sacred and important. And sometimes, you know, we as women especially, and empathic women, really need that release. And it's important because sometimes that sacred anger fuels our passion and our mission and our purpose in this lifetime.
Yeah, so that's like that going forward, actually. How many clients do you come into contact with that don't know what that is? They don't know what their purpose is. They're feeling kind of in between, in a stage where they just don't know what it is that their purpose is here, or what they're for, or what that means.
A lot, if not almost all.
Yeah. I think
I'm still figuring mine out. I think it's like this ever-evolving thing that humans are constantly searching for.
Yeah, well, the reason I asked is when you brought that up, Ben and I talked about that on the way back from a doctor's appointment today. And I had talked to him, and I kind of like, I brought up what I was talking about earlier, and I was like, okay, here is what frustrates me in all of this, and tried to, you know, talk about what it was that frustrated me. But at the end of that conversation, you know, I'm like, you know, I'm still trying to figure out where my path lies in this. I really don't care what I do. I mean, at the end of the day, I really just don't care what it is that I do, as long as I'm used by the universe to do good. I just want to help people, and that's it. And I've had other spiritual people say, yeah, but what does that help look like? What does that feel like? And I understand that that's their way of, you know, getting me to ignite myself. But the passion itself lies in having somebody else feel better once they leave my presence.
Yeah,
that's the passion.
Me too.
And so it doesn't matter if it's a healing, it doesn't matter if it's a conversation, it doesn't matter if it's a spiritual channeling, it doesn't matter if it's class. It doesn't even matter if it's just us talking and bringing awareness to other people through some of the things you say. It's just the avenue of letting people understand themselves or heal themselves, or, you know, give them a little bit of a push in what this all is. It doesn't matter to me. I just want people to smile after they leave my presence. That's all I want. And I want the presence of the universe and or God, whatever you look towards, the flying spaghetti monster, I don't give a shit. But whatever you look towards, I don't care what that is. I want you to know that that presence radiates in me, and it also radiates in you, because I'm a firm believer that all of us hold that power, and that's what my mission here is on this planet, is just to teach that that power is us, it's ours. And that's why we're here. You know, the energy of God himself, if that's what you want to coin it, cannot walk this earth the way that we walk this earth, and that's what we're here for. And it's all to just be here together. And what a great emotion, what a great feeling, what a great energy to know that every time you're pissed off at something or somebody, it stems from love. Because if you didn't have love for those puppies that were being thrown into the river, you wouldn't be pissed off. It all is a web that comes back together, and that back together mission is coined off from love. That's just the greater thing about being here. And so it's just, that's what ignites my soul, is helping people understand that love is the power that binds all of us together, whether it be jealousy, anger, frustration. It's all together. All of that is. And so it's funny. You might not, listeners, you might not know what your passion is. You might not know where that fire is. You might not know, because we're so ingrained to call ourselves or label ourselves as something. We've picked that for some reason. I don't know why that is. Mandee, maybe you can help. I don't know why we choose to label ourselves, but I feel like sometimes it just doesn't need a label. Like my purpose.
I think we are taught and given. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, you're fine. I asked the question. You interrupt.
I think we're taught to label ourselves. We are given, one of my favorite memes that goes around is the baby with the barcode on his head. That's like, as soon as you're born, you're given like a race, a nationality, a religion, and a language, like all of these things. So like, oh, there, see, boom, as soon as you're born, how many labels do you have? You know, you're a boy, you're a girl, you're black, you're white, you're this nationality, you're born in this town. Like, as soon as you're born, you come out with labels, and then throughout the rest of our lives, we're taught to have labels. So inevitably, we're going to label ourselves. So, you know, what we're doing now through this whole consciousness and awakening is learning how to go back a few steps and break some of that down and say, maybe we went a little crazy with that. Like, yeah, there's some like clear, obvious divisions, gender, things like that. Yes, there's room for growth and all of that and talk and all that. But overall, there's some things that we discern very quickly, you know, what's happening outside of us. But it's really important to take the time to say, okay, what are the labels that I'm comfortable with, and what are the labels that I'm not? What labels am I giving myself that no one else is? Am I calling myself a bitch, or are people telling me that all the time? Like, am I acting like one? Like, what is it? What's going on here? So I think that's where a lot of our sacred spirituality lies, in these conversations with ourselves and breaking down a little bit as to why we're acting the way we are and why we're thinking the thoughts that we're thinking in our head, especially the ones we have on repeat.
Yes. It's funny because my son Corey, he's 18, so he's a teenager now, kind of teenager, adult, whatever. But he talks all the time about, and I will say labels, like he'll talk about this friend's this or this friend's this, like in their sexuality. And I just look at him and I'm like, why? Why are they labeling themselves? If it makes them feel good and they want to label themselves, then, you know, have at it. If that's what makes you feel good. But at the end of the day, we're human. You're a human. You're a spiritual human, and you deserve love the same way everybody else does. And why label yourself in a way that other people can put you down for whatever label that is? Because it's none of their business who or what you are. Mm-hmm. They don't need to know what that is and what that means to you, because you know what? It's yours. You hold that power. You be that truth. And, you know, it's like I see so many younger people struggling with this back and forth of, am I this or am I this? Am I this or am I this? And I'm like, just be, yo. Like, you just are. You're just a magical, amazing human. And that's okay to be that right now. Don't let all of the nonsense of what's happening around us make you feel like you have to fit into some category, because at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. It's between you and whoever is a part of your world. And so I just don't understand labels. I get what you're saying 100%. I really do get what you're saying, because there are some labels that are good labels to have. But at the end of the day, I'm like, we are all so human.
Yeah,
there is no nothing. We are all just here living in this together. And why do we have to make people feel uncomfortable with what box we choose to put them in? You know, I don't want people to be in a box. Get out of your fucking box.
Get out of your box.
Have fun with your life. Be good, you know. Experience and love and have all these wonderful things happen to you. And at the end of the day, that's what's going to ignite your heart and soul, you know. Not what label you put on the box before you climbed in. It's the living that gets us there. And that's what excites me.
It's what lights you up. That's how you find your passions and your purpose. It's the things that light you up. Like, I know right now my purpose is, like, why it's like what you said, to, you know, help hold spiritual space with people and help them feel better than when they came, and reassure them and guide them and channel beautiful divine love and energy to them, you know, and that's all I can do in this moment. I don't know if I'm meant to change things. I don't know if I'm, you know, what I'm meant to do after that or where my growth is going, but I just know that I'm meant to connect with humans in this part and help lead and guide and teach, and that's all I can do at the moment. And I think, too, when I was a kid, I always knew I wanted to make people feel better, and I smiled a lot. I was always a big smiler.
I had a teacher that had a talk with us the very first day in class. You know how teachers sit and give you lectures the first day of the class. And he talked about one of his past students that used to smile with their energy. And that was such a powerful conversation, because I was like, yeah. And he goes, you know, she was always just smiling. You could tell it was almost like she was smiling with her energy. She didn't have to be, you know, mindful of it. It's just what she did. And I was like, that is such a powerful thing. And after that, that's exactly what I do. When I look at people, I radiate a light, try to anyway, of being something of positivity. So I smile. And I have been told that I smile with my eyes. And I'm like, yes. And that means that I've worked on what I needed to work on. And so I do smile with my whole presence, because that's another way to give people light.
And yourself at the end of the day, when you're giving gratitudes or prayers, or even if you haven't started a nightly ritual like that, like if you can just take a minute and smile at yourself and your body and your higher self for showing up and doing this thing for one more day, like that energy is transformative. I can't even express how transformative it is to take a couple minutes and give gratitude to yourself each day. But it works, and you can send that energy right through yourself as well.
Yeah. So I don't usually do this. We haven't even gotten to the article that we have, but we have a couple callers, and I'm feeling pulled to pick a caller. See, I think there's two on there who are listening through the show and holding because of that. But I'm actually going to answer this one because for some reason my gut is saying that they need to talk. So I'm actually going to talk to them.
Okay.
Wow, look at you being all psychic. It's Jenny. Hey, lady.
I'm looking at the switchboard. I was like, I guarantee she's going to pick Jenny.
So, hi, Jenny. How are you? It was so funny when, like, you're adorable. I love you. And I'm actually so excited that you're here.
Well, you know, I was listening in. I was
too.
I'm so sorry.
You want to be a part of this? I said, you want to be a part of this for the next half hour? That would be really fun to jam with you.
Oh, I would love to. I didn't want to be so intrusive. I was actually just listening, and you'll notice a little question mark will pop up when someone wants to chat with you on the switchboard there. And I didn't push one because I didn't want to bother you guys. You guys had a good flow, and I was digging it, and I was like, again, those are my girls right there, you know, just bringing amazing truth and justice. It's beautiful. Anyway, I'm listening in, but you know what? I will absolutely join in on the rest of the show if you want me to.
I think I would love that. And I think it's divine, too, because I was looking at the switchboard being like, let's play a commercial and give it a little plug. And Jenny's, like, the best at doing that live. So what do you guys think? Should we play one of our commercials, and then Jenny can explain a little bit of how you can follow us on Heart Over Ego?
I think that is awesome. I'm going to have, if you're looking at the switchboard, I'm going to have you do that, though, because
I got you.
You're awesome.
Cool. We'll see you guys all in just a minute.
You are listening to the web's #1 choice in spiritual growth and development. This is Heart Over Ego Radio, a network of shows to provide you with healing and guidance to improve the quality of your life. Check us out on Sundays with the Everyday Psychic Show. Mondays is the Alchemy Sisters. Tuesdays, Radical Spirituality. Wednesdays is Know Thyself. Thursdays, Transcending Love. Fridays, Rain Radio. This is Heart Over Ego Radio. Check us out on the web at facebook.com and Blog Talk Radio.
Jenny, we may have some updates to that schedule too.
Yes.
May we?
Yes.
Okay.
We have a couple different updates, but more importantly, the only thing that's on my mind right now is the show that I just did before you guys got on your show, which is on the Third Eye Political Radio podcast. And it was incredible. It was fantastic. And I was just calling in to check on you guys and see how you're doing. And I was totally digging the energy. I'm so sorry that I got in the middle of the flow because you guys were having some fantastic energy there.
Join the flow. You're going to jump right in.
Come
for
on
everyone,
now.
Yeah, for everyone who doesn't know, this is Jenny McDaniel. She is the other alchemy sister. She is the creator and co-founder with all of us of Heart Over Ego Radio, and she will jump right in this flow. But Jenny, I would love it if you could just take a minute and tell everyone kind of the updates of what we have going on with shows on Heart Over Ego Radio, and how they can find us. And then we'll get into our letter from the empath topic.
Absolutely. You can find us on Facebook, Heart Over Ego Radio. We have a side page, Heart Over Ego. We do a little more news broadcasting there. And on Heart Over Ego, Mondays, we have the Alchemy Sisters coming up starting February 3rd. And we have Radical Spirituality on Tuesdays. And Wednesdays, we have Sonia Spirit, who has a very interesting look at anything from spiritual movies onto spiritual topics. She's a very studied individual. I adore her. And I think that the only other show going regularly are Rain Radio, Naomi and Leela. And then we also have the Sunday show, which is the Everyday Psychic Show, which is our classic show that's been going for years. We keep changing the name of it, but it's Drew and I taking callers, giving free advice and experiences of the psychic world.
Beautiful. Just love it.
It's funny because, I feel like I'm always talking about you, Jenny. Every single show, I feel like I bring you up because we don't talk very often, but I don't think you fully understand just how amazing you are because you make me question myself. So anytime I have the opportunity for you to chime on in, I'm like, yes, because the two of you I could listen to for hours. I mean, both of you have the most awesome voice ever. I think you need to do, a guidance tape. That would be cool.
Ooh.
I would listen to that.
I've had several clients ask me recently, and that's something Jenny and I have batted around in the past, and I'm sure when the time is right, will come to fruition in the future.
And I took a hypnotherapy course, and it has me completely lined up to do that kind of work. And so I'm just kind of waiting until I get my office set up to be able to get into the recording and the distribution of guided meditations. I mean, I have books written, lined paper, written inductions to take you into hypnosis. And so I got all the work. I just have to get the equipment and the settling down. So I'm
That's really funny. I've actually told Ben that he should look into that because he also has this most soothing voice ever. I always tell him in our relationship, he's the calm and I'm the storm. And it's because he has this way to just calm the situations and let things, and it's he has this way to kind of lull people. And you also have that beautiful meditative voice to help bring people to this different state of being within themselves. And that's such a cool thing. So if you're ever in Michigan, let me know, and we can host something there. You can completely use my space.
And I have some access on the water, so there's a space where there could be some action near the water. It's a little bit south to where you're at because you're a bit north there. But, I have some connections in Michigan. I think it'd be great. I think Michigan would be a great place to start some movement of retreats and classes. And, let's do it. I mean, I thought it was always intriguing how when I met you, say, I was like, she's really hip. And I found out you're from Michigan, and I'm like, of course she is. But anyway, I always talk about you too.
You got to be a different type of person to stay here, man. I'm just saying. Got to have a different energy to be able to live in Michigan.
Proper warrior.
So, who wants to bring up this letter of an empath? Who wants to talk about what that is? Because both of you ladies are so much better at explaining things than me.
I wanted you to start because it impacted you, and you shared it on your page. So I wanted you to start and tell kind of what you were thinking, and then we can go from there because it inspired you, right?
It did. Well, it inspired me, but it was almost like her writing a letter through my words because it's exactly what I say. So there are so many people, and this is, in the letter she states, and please know I'm paraphrasing right now because I'm not actually looking at it, but she's talking about being around certain people and having to kind of hold her own space and not being able to be around people all the time. And it's not that she doesn't love people, because she loves people greatly, but you just have to kind of reconnect with yourself sometimes, and that means that you're going to be alone. Well, this is actually something that I've literally just been taking control of over the past 3 years. I didn't do that before. And so I was always making myself available to everybody. I was the empath that always put myself in everybody's household. I was the person who always wanted to be there, help people, listen, understand, all of these things. And it was kind of like exhausting. But we are also raised, because we talked earlier about how we're raised to believe certain things are to be true. And we're all raised in these family situations or friend situations where it's almost like we are taught that it's an obligation to be there, whether you have the time, love for yourself, energy, whatever. We're taught to be in these spaces with other people that we don't necessarily have to be in. And so as an empath also, and I'm sure both of you can understand this, as an empath, it almost guilts us into being in situations that we don't necessarily want to be in. So like if somebody invites us out, yeah, we go out because we feel obligated in that moment to do it because we said we were going to do it. And so it takes a long time with lots of boundaries. And sometimes I think the boundaries are with yourself, not necessarily others. In saying, okay, you know what, I don't want to go out. I don't want to be a part of this. I don't have the time for this. It's just taking responsibility for my life and where I'm at. And actually, you both know, because you both know I've been having some ups and downs when it comes to my own medical stuff and healing and my own issues right now that I'm trying to sort out. And it kind of like put all of that back together for me. And I was like, yes, she is speaking so much truth. Because when we place ourselves over and over and over and over again in certain situations over years, we deplete ourselves so completely. And people don't understand we are different. We are different. We are able to feel things that we don't necessarily want to feel or be a part of, but it's something that we contracted to do. And so it is a beautiful gift to be able to do so. And so many people also don't necessarily look at it as a gift, but it is such a gift to be able to feel, express, and understand where other people are in their life. But it also can be so exhausting, especially if those people are in a bad place or state themselves, because just because they look at you and say, hey, I'm fine, everything's good, you feel everything happening in their life on deeper levels. And so there is no lie. They can't lie to you. And so that's an energy that inevitably gets absorbed in some way. And we can ground ourselves, we can protect ourselves, and we can be more mindful of all of that. And that's something probably we will talk about. But at the same time, it is so important to look at people and say, I love you. I just don't want to be there with you right now. This is a moment in my life where I have to reflect and understand and recoup for me. And so it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with me. It's 100% about me, not you. And I guess how people take that is on them. Because I know in my life I have a lot of people who in the past and recent past, I guess I will say, that get so offended that I'm like, no, I don't want to be there. Or no, I don't want to do that. Or no, I don't want to go out. And I just feel like I just don't want to hold space with these people because it's not a safe place for me to hold space. It's just not. And so I refuse to be there. And then they get mad because apparently they think I'm better than them, or I'm this or I'm that. And that I feel too. So it's like, it's such a catch-22 with an empath, but these are all things that society as a whole, there's so many of us. And so many of us don't know that this is what we are, and this is why we feel, and this is why we get anxious and nervous and excited and sad and frustrated and angry and all these different things that are being vibed on. But if we can just sit in the moment and say, okay, what's happening on the earth today that would be sad or frustrating? Like you said earlier, Mandee, there are so many different things. There's political stuff happening. That's fear, that's frustration, that's anger. Then we also have those Australian fires that are also, fear, anger, frustration, all these things, especially as it's coming out that people are setting these fires on purpose. And so why wouldn't you be in a space right now where you're feeling these feelings and not understanding where they're coming from? Just because it doesn't happen in your own personal life. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask you if you thought it was a conspiracy that people were setting the fires in Australia. I remember a couple days ago, like 4 days ago, seeing a link from one of my kind of revolutionary radical friends, so I didn't always take it as true. So I saw it go by, and it was like a couple kids have been put in custody, being charged with arson. And I'm like, now what the goddamn fuck? Is this partially dry? Dry, just a spark starts a fire. That's how it happens in California quite often. Someone has a chain hanging off their truck, just didn't wrap it around one more time. Just catches, and it catches. So, and when I read that, my spidey senses came out, and I'm like, there's got to be some truth to that, considering when I keep looking at maps of where it's burning, I'm like, it looks very structured.
It's all over,
if I may say. It is all over, but definitely around the edges.
Over. Yes, that's what I was just going to say. It's literally it's the whole, it encompasses the whole entire circle of this country. And that's got to be something. And I haven't actually looked into it, to answer your question. I didn't look into it because if I hold space with it, it's going to hurt me. And so I feel so deeply about certain things, which is why I don't do the political stuff like we talked about. I just can't hold space with certain things because once I feel it, it just opens me up to a whole can of worms that Crystal doesn't want to be a part of. And so as much as I've been manifesting rain and water and literally this whole place, I would rather it flood right now than burn anymore. But at the same time, it's kind of like, all these things happening, and I just won't hold space with it. But I am going to tell you, from what I read also earlier, I agree with you 100%. I don't necessarily, I think that there are people starting it, and I think that they are doing it for whatever reason. I haven't sat with it yet, but I do think that people are involved. It seems too fishy with how it's happening.
Well, probably because they got hurt when they were young and not loved enough.
Seriously.
I'm right there with you guys. I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's a wake-up call and an opportunity for a lot of things. I think I'm really impressed with what's going on with people trying to help the animals and the wildlife. I think that's really joining our kingdoms together, or I don't like the word kingdom, but it's joining our areas together a little bit, and I like that. And it's a hot topic. And that's one, before we wrap up the show tonight, we did want to give some tools for like what empaths can do when these things are happening. Like, oh my God, I don't want to go out of bed. The fires are happening. This is going on. What do? I feel so, sad, and I can't control my feelings. Like, what you can do, I believe very much in the power of prayer and positivity. And I do think we create a lot of these storms with all of our emotions, and that collectively we can help control that. So one thing you can do is, say you see an animal is burnt and you're really sad about that. You can say, thank you so much to everyone who helped that animal. You can also thank that animal for choosing to come in and be part of this experience and be a way shower to humanity about, consciousness and what we're supposed to be doing and how we should treat one another. And I feel like every being comes in and incarnates and chooses some of these experiences and what they're here to do. And then they choose when they want to leave and depart back up to the non-physical. And I thank them for their sacrifice and their choices. And, I'm like, okay, well, I can stare at my phone and scroll on Facebook for like 5 more minutes, or I can take 30 seconds and actually pray and actually envision rain coming down and clearing that out. You know, when it comes to the things going on politically and not feeling safe, a lot of my clients this week are like, yeah, this whole like missile thing's creeping me out, and like I don't know what's going to happen. I'm like, what you can do is you can ask your angels to surround you in white and blue light and protect you. And all you can do is ask for your experiences of your highest good each day. And then allow yourself to maybe take a couple minutes and do some breathing. Tapping's one of my favorite things. And then do something to change your energy and say, okay, the only way I can change the world is by changing myself. So if I sit here and I'm sad about this all day, is that going to change anything? No. But I could pray for a while. I can still be sad, but I could go maybe dance to a song and then go work on something that is productive or more in alignment. And that's all we can do. And it might just be hitting your yoga mat or doing a meditation or going out and volunteering or helping, you know, whatever it is. There's always something you can do, and these are subtle things to start choosing your actions and your reactions.
Yeah, it's funny because, like, I'm so sorry, Jenny, to bring you up all the time, but you share the funniest stuff. I absolutely love the stuff that she shares. It makes me laugh. It's like this internal guttural laugh as well, because there are so many people right now who are freaking out about World War III. And, you know, I'm going to tell you both, I don't know that you believe what you believe, or I don't know what you guys, because we haven't talked about this yet, but I really fundamentally do not believe that there's going to be a World War III out of this. I do believe that Trump is probably going to end up executed. But with that being said,
win-win.
It was forecasted in The Simpsons. So I'm just going to say, if it was in The Simpsons, it's going to be true because they are psychic.
So far, it's been happening.
Exactly. So that's all I'm saying. Please, FBI, do not show up at my fucking door. But
we're just referencing The Simpsons.
If I end up committing suicide by shooting myself in the head with my hands tied behind my back while being hung by my feet, y'all know it was me. But anyway, with that being said, you're sharing all these things about World War III, and I see like there's like this fear that you literally feel behind the people who are looking at these things. And I hate to laugh. I'm sorry, because it's not a laughing
matter. My
matter.
clients have talked to me about it. Jenny, I'm sure. Yeah, what have you seen, Jenny?
Well, definitely no World War III. It's a fear-based reality. But when haven't we been at war? You know, we're just a warmongering country. It's just what we do. It's a fear-based reality, and I wish to stifle it out. It's a matter of time, kids.
Yes.
You know, like people will. It's a couple decades. We'll have wiped out a big portion of it, and you know, we'll still have work to do. But hell, we're cut out for it, right?
I love what you just said, because that points out the reality. If we want to look at things correctly, we've already been in a World War III. And so, I mean, it's already been there. It's been there for years. And so what's the difference today between what it was 10 years ago? It's been the same thing over and over again, just different stupid people who keep telling us that we have to follow their lead. With that being said, all of that together, being an empath that doesn't know you're an empath, if you do know you're an empath, then you've already kind of went on a self-discovery. But when you don't know that that's what you are, and you're living a life of anxiety, frustration, depression, and all these other emotions that you don't know how to handle, please find a way to handle those things, because if it's mind over matter, and I feel like that's the best thing to retrain your brain, because you do have control over it. The universe would not give us gifts that cannot be controlled, because we have free will. And so remembering in those moments of your darkest time that you have free will and control over your thoughts, feelings, and emotions will also help bring you back up to that light that you so badly want to see and feel. Just because all of the focus everywhere we are right now seems to be in a negative light, don't look to that focus. Instead, go to the grocery store and find the one person that holds the door for you, because that's the reality of this life. The reality is there are so many amazing people that walk around us every single day, and those people should be your focus. Don't get dragged down by the focus of what other people want you to visualize. That's a way to bring you down. You must be Mr. Rogers' mother in a different time frame continuum, because that's basically what she said here. Mr. Rogers is quoted by saying, asking his mother as a young child when terrible things would happen in the news, he'd be like, "Mother, what of this?" And she says, "Look for the helpers. They're always there.
They'll always come in and sweep in and be a part of the change, be a part of the healing of the trauma that happened. And I thought that was the most brilliant thing I had ever heard. I grew up watching Mr. Rogers, and I dig his energy, and I just recently watched that Tom Hanks movie with him in it. But anyway,
me too.
I didn't know that was said. I feel wise.
Wisdomatic is all get out. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like Spirit just gives me drops of awesomeness, and I would love to take credit myself, but at the same time, it is what it is, and we just have to find a way to refocus, I guess. And that is hard. It is a little bit hard right now in this day and age. So I feel like that's the only advice that I would give to people who feel like they're on this path of like perpetual ugly. It's only as ugly as we see. At the end of the day, it's only as ugly as we choose to see it. And so
what we focus on is critical. One of my favorite resources, if anybody out there is looking for a book or resources on all this, is The 4 Agreements. There's 4 agreements, and the first one is be impeccable with your word. The second is don't take anything personally. The third is don't make exceptions. And the fourth is always to do your best. And that book I feel like really helps empaths a lot in starting to take reign over all of this stuff. So I don't know. I just felt called to share that out there. I feel like someone listening needed a book or something.
I wrote it down myself because I literally write down every book that you talk about.
It's an oldie but a goodie.
So
Crystal,
I will.
It's so funny. When just recently I was working with a friend of yours, and she's like, "Do you have any literature you could recommend?" And I'm like, "Ooh, sorry, I'm a lot like Crystal. We don't have many teachers, and we haven't read many books. You'll find us to be extremely skillful. You just won't find that we have all the knowledge of where to get the books and the starter pieces." So I absolutely love. Mandee will be like, "No, this is what you should start with. This is what you should read." And I'm like, "Yeah, she's brilliant with that, holding space with the study." And this is where a lot of Mandee's skills are too. Just the study. Crystal, did you go to regular college? I didn't. Mandee has a capability to study in academia.
I did not. I actually went to kind of a trade school. I went to be a medical assistant. So that's kind of what I did. And that just came like supernatural to me. I don't know. I didn't have to study. It just was. I just knew the information. So I'm going to say I probably had some guidance there because I was not the smartest student. I did not do well in school. I used to fight with my teachers about whether or not I would use any of the shit they tried to give me and feed me. I was like, I will not ever use this. Trust me. One of these days you'll see me somewhere else and I will look at you and say, see, I did not use that ever. So,
I get that. I always took bits and pieces. I was not much of a math person, but what got me was like consciousness and philosophy and relationships and things like that and psychology. And I'm like, oh, yes. And then I just wanted to know more. And I had all these questions. And it's like, who do you ask? I don't know. So I'd start reading books and I'd listen to Spirit. Spirit would drop in certain things at certain times. There's this great little bookstore. My mom's an avid reader. And I could just kind of go get what I wanted and what spoke to me. And then the 4 Agreements came to me. I was lucky when I was like 18, 19, maybe 17 to 19. I got this one because I was able to go to this guy who was a psychotherapist and taught me tapping back then and all kinds of things. And I think he recommended it to my mom and I. But my mom had it and I stole it one day and then I didn't put it down. And I've read it like once a year ever since.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I'm still reading the You Can Heal Your Life. I'm still working on that book because I don't have a lot of time to sit and read, or I'm just too lazy to actually pick up a book and read. But I've went through and highlighted everything in there that way when I go through it, I can be like, okay, because I just find it so fascinating, and it's such a good way to pull yourself out of.
Oh my goodness!
And
so
I will
good.
say that it's such a good way to just pull yourself out. And so it's like, once again, mind over matter, because we do tend to get stuck in our healing process. Jenny, where can we find you? We have 90 seconds left. Where can we find you?
You can find me at Jenny McDaniel on Facebook, and you can find me at the Alchemy Sisters and Heart Over Ego Radio, as well as Third Eye Political Radio.
And Mandee, what about you?
Same thing. You can find me on Facebook, Mandee, Mandee, Elam, ELAM. I'm also on the Alchemy Sisters Facebook page, and you can find us on our current website, alchemyascensionacademy.com. Oh, and I wanted to add in, too, that Louise one. If any of our clients, because I know we recommend that a lot, struggle with reading, I listen to it on audio all the time, especially before bed.
I have that on audio as well. I do the same thing. I am going to say that I am Mid Mitten Medium, and you can find me on any avenue there. I've made it simple for myself. It is Mid Mitten Medium. And I'm also going to go on the Heart Over Ego page on Facebook, and I am going to make sure that I, link the tapping that Mandee has brought up a couple different times. I'm going to link that to the page. And I'm also going to make a list of these different books that she talked about because they are wonderful, wonderful avenues for us to all kind of look into. And I did use the tapping. It was amazing. So I would like you guys to be able to hear it too, or see it, sorry. Tap away, my friends. So thank you all so much. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you so much.
I love you. Bye.
I love you. You ladies have a great and wonderful night. Thank you so much.
Bye. Love you guys.
Bye.